Before you even catch your breath, the internet explodes with a confession no one saw coming. Cameras rolling, lights blazing, a studio audience frozen in disbelief. And then the words that shattered everything: yes, it happened. In a moment that fans are already calling the most jaw-dropping scene in reality TV history, Kendra Robinson appears to admit, on air, that she slept with Kirk Frost. Gasps echoed, social media erupted, and somewhere off stage, a woman who's been through it all felt the ground crack beneath her feet. This is a fictional, dramatized entertainment scenario inspired by reality TV storytelling, but the emotions? The stakes? They feel painfully real. Because when Kirk's name drops into the conversation, history comes roaring back. Betrayals, apologies, tears that once soaked living room floors and reunion couches alike. Fans are shocked because they've seen this movie before, and they know how ugly it gets. The question burning through every comment section isn't just, did it happen, but, how could it happen again? As the host leans forward, voice trembling with barely contained excitement, the camera cuts to a silent reaction shot. Eyes wide, jaw clenched. That's Rasheeda, a woman who has forgiven before. A woman who rebuilt after public humiliation. A woman who swore, on tears and prayers, that she would never be put in this position again. Emotions ran high as the silence stretched, thick enough to choke the room. Behind the scenes, producers scramble. Family members watch from home, phones buzzing non-stop. Friends take sides before the commercial break even hits. Fans are shocked, divided, and already declaring war in the comments. Some say this is the ultimate betrayal. Others whisper that the truth has layers we haven't seen yet. And Kendra? She sits there, voice cracking, eyes glossy, claiming she's finally telling her truth, no matter who it hurts. But is this confession the whole story, or just the spark to a much bigger fire? As accusations fly and old wounds rip back open, one thing is clear: this moment will change everything. Trust is hanging by a thread. A marriage stands at the edge. And the family is left divided before the night is even over. Stay right here, because what unfolds next is messier, louder, and more explosive than anyone could have imagined. Before you even catch your breath, the internet explodes with a confession no one saw coming. Cameras rolling, lights blazing, a studio audience frozen in disbelief. And then the words that shattered everything: yes, it happened. In a moment that fans are already calling the most jaw-dropping scene in reality TV history, Kendra Robinson appears to admit, on air, that she slept with Kirk Frost. Gasps echoed, social media erupted, and somewhere off stage, a woman who's been through it all felt the ground crack beneath her feet. This is a fictional, dramatized entertainment scenario inspired by reality TV storytelling, but the emotions? The stakes? They feel painfully real. Because when Kirk's name drops into the conversation, history comes roaring back. Betrayals, apologies, tears that once soaked living room floors and reunion couches alike. Fans are shocked because they've seen this movie before, and they know how ugly it gets. The question burning through every comment section isn't just, did it happen, but, how could it happen again? As the host leans forward, voice trembling with barely contained excitement, the camera cuts to a silent reaction shot. Eyes wide, jaw clenched. That's Rasheeda, a woman who has forgiven before. A woman who rebuilt after public humiliation. A woman who swore, on tears and prayers, that she would never be put in this position again. Emotions ran high as the silence stretched, thick enough to choke the room. Behind the scenes, producers scramble. Family members watch from home, phones buzzing non-stop. Friends take sides before the commercial break even hits. Fans are shocked, divided, and already declaring war in the comments. Some say this is the ultimate betrayal. Others whisper that the truth has layers we haven't seen yet. And Kendra? She sits there, voice cracking, eyes glossy, claiming she's finally telling her truth, no matter who it hurts. But is this confession the whole story, or just the spark to a much bigger fire? As accusations fly and old wounds rip back open, one thing is clear: this moment will change everything. Trust is hanging by a thread. A marriage stands at the edge. And the family is left divided before the night is even over. Stay right here, because what unfolds next is messier, louder, and more explosive than anyone could have imagined. The room was still buzzing from the confession, not the kind of noise you hear, but the kind that crawls under your skin and makes your chest feel tight. Cameras stayed locked on Kendra as she swallowed hard, her fingers trembling in her lap. She hadn't expected the silence to be louder than the gasps. The host tried to speak, but even their voice cracked under the weight of what had just been said. Somewhere behind the cameras, producers exchanged looks, realizing they had just captured something that would live forever on replay. Kendra finally broke the silence, her voice shaky but determined, saying she was tired of carrying secrets that weren't hers alone. She claimed she had been painted as a liar for months, whispered about in group chats, blamed for chaos she never asked for. According to her, telling the truth was the only way she could breathe again. She said she knew what this meant, knew who it would hurt, and knew there was no taking it back. Emotions ran high as she insisted she never planned for things to go that far, but one night turned into another, and suddenly lines were crossed that could never be uncrossed. The camera cut to Rasheeda, who hadn't moved an inch. Her face was calm in a way that scared everyone watching. Fans are shocked not because she screamed, but because she didn't. Her eyes stayed locked forward, jaw clenched, lips pressed together like she was holding back years of memories all at once. People in the audience whispered that this wasn't denial, this was processing. This was a woman replaying every promise she had believed, every apology she had accepted, every time she chose forgiveness over walking away. When the host finally asked how long it had been going on, the air seemed to thin. Kendra hesitated, then admitted it wasn't just a one-time mistake. That word, mistake, hung heavy. She said it happened during a period when Kirk and Rasheeda were already struggling, when arguments were spilling into public spaces and everyone could see the cracks. She tried to explain that Kirk made her feel seen, listened to, valued in a moment when she felt invisible. The audience reacted instantly, some shaking their heads, others murmuring in disbelief. Cut to Kirk backstage, pacing back and forth like a trapped animal. He had refused to come on camera after the confession, but microphones still caught his muttered curses and heavy breathing. He kept saying this wasn't how it was supposed to come out, that he had asked for time, that things were complicated. Friends tried to calm him down, reminding him that the damage was already done. Fans watching at home flooded social media, calling him reckless, selfish, and careless with a marriage that had already survived too much. Back on stage, Rasheeda finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but every word landed like a punch. She said she wasn't surprised by betrayal anymore, but she was shocked by the audacity. She questioned how many times a woman was expected to rebuild from the same ruins. She looked directly at Kendra and asked if she understood what it meant to break trust not just between a husband and wife but within a family. The family was left divided as whispers spread about how their children would react, how this would follow them everywhere. Kendra's eyes filled with tears as she tried to respond, insisting she never wanted to hurt Rasheeda. That sentence alone set the audience off. People laughed bitterly, others shouted that intentions didn't erase actions. Kendra defended herself by saying Kirk made promises, claimed his marriage was already over in everything but name. She admitted now she didn't know what was true and what was manipulation, but at the time she believed him. Emotions ran high as she questioned why the blame always landed heavier on her than on the man who broke his vows. The host attempted to regain control, asking Rasheeda if there was any path forward after hearing this. Rasheeda paused for a long time, her eyes finally flicking toward the floor. She said forgiveness wasn't weakness, but it wasn't unlimited either. She reminded everyone that every time she forgave before, she did it with the hope that it was the last time. Fans are shocked as she admitted she didn't know if she had anything left to give this time. She said she needed to protect her peace, even if that meant making choices she once promised she'd never make. Offstage, friends and family reacted in real time. Some defended Rasheeda fiercely, saying she had been humiliated enough in public. Others questioned why she stayed so long, reigniting old debates about loyalty and self-respect. Kirk's inner circle looked uneasy, knowing that no explanation would be enough this time. Texts leaked, voice notes were hinted at, and rumors swirled that this confession was only the beginning, not the full story. As the segment wrapped, the tension didn't ease, it multiplied. The host teased unseen footage, late-night conversations, and messages that could change everything viewers thought they knew. Kendra wiped her face, visibly shaken but standing by her words. Rasheeda stood up without looking back, walking off stage with her head high, leaving behind a silence that felt final but unresolved. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and the family was left divided as the screen faded, promising that this was far from over and that the truth, whatever it really was, had only just begun. The hallway outside the stage felt colder than before, like the air itself had shifted after Rasheeda walked off. Cameras followed her until the very last second, catching the way her shoulders stiffened as soon as she was out of sight. She didn't cry, not then. Instead, she kept repeating under her breath that she was done being embarrassed. Producers tried to slow her down, asking her to sit, to talk, to give them something, but she waved them off, saying she had already given enough of herself to the world. Back inside, Kendra sat alone on the couch, the adrenaline fading and reality crashing in. Her hands shook as she reached for water, her mind replaying Rasheeda's words over and over. She hadn't imagined it would hurt this much to tell the truth. She thought she'd feel lighter, free. Instead, she felt exposed, like every mistake she ever made was now carved into stone for strangers to judge. Fans are shocked at how quickly sympathy and anger collided online, with some calling her brave and others calling her heartless. Kirk finally agreed to step in front of the camera, but not before insisting on conditions. He wanted to speak alone, no Rasheeda, no Kendra, no interruptions. When the red light came on, his confidence looked forced. He admitted he made mistakes but pushed back against the word betrayal, claiming his marriage had been broken long before Kendra entered the picture. Emotions ran high as he tried to rewrite the timeline, saying loneliness can make people do reckless things, and that he never intended for anyone to get hurt. The internet didn't buy it. Clips of his interview spread fast, dissected frame by frame. Fans pointed out the contradictions, the way his story shifted when pressed. Some noticed how he avoided saying sorry directly to Rasheeda, choosing vague phrases instead. Others accused him of trying to paint himself as the victim. The comment sections turned into unresolved arguments, with people reliving old scandals and reminding each other that this wasn't new behavior, just new faces. Meanwhile, Rasheeda arrived home to a house that felt too quiet. Her kids weren't there, staying with family while everything settled. That silence finally broke her. She sat at the kitchen table, staring at a phone buzzing non-stop with messages she couldn't bring herself to read. Friends urged her to leave, to take space, to think about herself for once. Others reminded her of the years invested, the businesses built, the life intertwined with Kirk's. The family was left divided, not just on screen, but behind closed doors where decisions actually mattered. Kendra's phone wasn't quiet either. Some messages were supportive, telling her she did the right thing. Others were cruel, threatening, blaming her for destroying a family. She questioned whether honesty was worth this kind of fallout. She replayed moments with Kirk in her head, wondering if she had been naive or deliberately misled. Emotions ran high as she admitted to a close friend that she felt used, like she carried the weight while he still tried to control the narrative. Days passed, but the tension didn't fade. Paparazzi waited outside Rasheeda's home, hoping for a reaction. She stayed inside, focusing on work, putting on a brave face in meetings while her personal life unraveled. When she finally broke her silence online, it was short and sharp, saying healing didn't happen on a timeline and that silence didn't mean weakness. Fans are shocked by how firm she sounded, reading it as a sign that forgiveness might not be coming this time. Kirk tried reaching out, sending messages apologizing, then blaming stress, then asking for understanding. When Rasheeda didn't respond, frustration turned into anger. He vented to friends, claiming he was being shut out unfairly. Those friends weren't so sympathetic anymore. Some told him he needed to face consequences instead of excuses. Others distanced themselves, not wanting to be caught in the storm. The network teased another episode, promising unseen footage and receipts that could change perspectives again. Whispers spread about messages between Kirk and Kendra that painted a very different picture. Fans are shocked, speculating late into the night about what else might be revealed. Kendra prepared herself mentally, knowing that telling the truth once didn't mean the story was finished. Rasheeda, on the other hand, braced for impact, aware that every new detail reopened wounds she was desperately trying to close. The story moved forward without pause, carrying everyone with it whether they were ready or not. The next wave hit harder because it came quietly. A leaked clip surfaced online late at night, grainy but unmistakable. Kirk's voice, low and intimate, talking about how trapped he felt, how he wished things were different. Kendra's laughter followed, soft but familiar. Fans are shocked not just by what was said, but by how comfortable it sounded, like this wasn't new or accidental. By morning, the clip was everywhere, replayed with captions, slowed down, analyzed until every word felt like evidence. Rasheeda saw it before anyone could warn her. She watched once, then again, then shut her phone off completely. Something shifted inside her that she couldn't explain. It wasn't anger anymore, and it wasn't sadness either. It was clarity. Emotions ran high as she realized this wasn't about one confession or one woman. This was about a pattern she had spent years trying to break alone. The family was left divided further when some relatives urged her to fight for her marriage while others quietly told her it was time to choose herself. Kirk panicked as backlash grew. Brands paused partnerships. Friends stopped answering calls. He released a statement claiming the clip was taken out of context, that people didn't understand the pressure he was under. Fans are shocked at how quickly sympathy vanished. Comments flooded in saying pressure doesn't excuse betrayal, fame doesn't excuse lies. The narrative was slipping from his control, and everyone could see it. Kendra, meanwhile, was pulled into meetings she never expected. Producers wanted more. Bloggers wanted interviews. Everyone suddenly cared about her side of the story, but only if it came with more drama. She felt torn between defending herself and disappearing completely. She admitted to a friend that she never wanted to be the villain or the headline. She wanted the truth out, but now the truth had turned into a spectacle. When Rasheeda finally agreed to sit down with the cameras again, the energy was different. She spoke slowly, choosing her words with care. She said trust wasn't just broken, it was shattered. She questioned how many versions of the truth she had been fed over the years. Emotions ran high as she admitted she blamed herself for too long, thinking if she loved harder or forgave faster things would change. Fans are shocked by the honesty, calling it the realest moment they'd ever seen from her. Kirk watched the interview alone. He looked stunned, not by anger, but by how calm she was. He realized then that yelling and apologies wouldn't work anymore. This wasn't a fight to win, it was a loss to accept. He tried calling her again, leaving a voicemail saying he was scared of losing his family. She didn't respond. Kendra's past was dragged into the spotlight next. Old photos, old relationships, rumors resurfaced overnight. The internet judged her harshly, dissecting her character as if one mistake defined her entire life. Emotions ran high as she defended herself, saying she refused to carry blame alone. She admitted she made choices she regretted, but she also told her side of how Kirk promised separation, how he painted a future that never existed. As tension built, insiders hinted that more messages were coming, ones that could shift blame again. Fans are shocked, torn between outrage and exhaustion. Rasheeda prepared herself mentally, knowing closure rarely comes clean. Kendra braced for more judgment. Kirk faced the reality that silence might be the loudest consequence of all. The story kept unfolding, layer by layer, pulling everyone deeper into a drama with no clear ending in sight. The pressure finally exploded when the network dropped the teaser for the next episode. It was only 30 seconds long, but it was enough to send everyone into a frenzy. Flashes of text messages blurred across the screen, voices overlapping, someone shouting, someone crying. Fans are shocked because the teaser hinted that Kirk's story didn't just change once, it changed depending on who he was talking to. By the time the clip ended, the internet was already convinced there was more lying ahead. Rasheeda didn't watch the teaser right away. She heard about it from friends who called to warn her, their voices tense and cautious. She told them she was tired of being warned, tired of bracing herself for pain like it was normal. Emotions ran high as she admitted she felt like her life had been turned into a never-ending episode she couldn't escape. Still, late that night, she watched it alone, sitting in the dark, letting every frame sink in. She noticed things others might miss, small details that confirmed what her gut had been telling her for years. Kirk, on the other hand, couldn't stop watching it. He replayed the teaser over and over, anxiety tightening his chest. He realized the messages they were teasing weren't the ones he thought had been deleted. Panic set in as he tried to remember what he had said, what promises he had made, and who else might have screenshots. Emotions ran high as he confronted people in his circle, accusing them of leaking information, only to realize this mess was his alone. Kendra found herself in a strange position. The same people who attacked her online were now demanding more answers. Bloggers claimed she was hiding something bigger, something that would flip the entire narrative. She felt trapped between defending herself and protecting pieces of her life that had nothing to do with Kirk. She told a close friend that she felt like the truth was being stretched until it barely resembled reality anymore. When the full episode aired, it was worse than anyone expected. Messages appeared on screen, blurred but readable enough to tell a story. Kirk telling Kendra he loved her. Kirk saying Rasheeda wouldn't understand him the way she did. Kirk promising a future that looked nothing like the present. Fans are shocked as the contradictions became impossible to ignore. Emotions ran high watching Rasheeda's reaction, her face barely moving as the words flashed across the screen. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply nodded slowly, like someone finally reaching the end of a long argument with themselves. She said she had defended him for years, even when it hurt her reputation. Seeing the messages felt like proof that her loyalty had been one-sided. The family was left divided once again as some relatives still urged counseling while others said this was the final straw. Kirk tried to explain himself in a confessional, his voice unsteady. He admitted he said things he didn't mean, claiming he was trying to avoid conflict and made promises to keep the peace. Fans are shocked by the explanation, calling it manipulation instead of confusion. Emotions ran high as even some of his longtime supporters began to distance themselves, saying accountability mattered more than excuses. Kendra watched the episode with mixed emotions. Part of her felt validated seeing proof that she hadn't imagined everything. Another part felt sick knowing how deeply Rasheeda had been hurt. She admitted on camera that she regretted believing words instead of actions. She said she never wanted to be the reason another woman questioned her worth. The statement sparked debate instantly, with some viewers praising her honesty and others accusing her of trying to rewrite her role. Rasheeda finally spoke directly to Kendra, not in anger but with exhaustion. She said she didn't hate her, but she didn't trust her either. She questioned how many women had heard the same promises and how many times she had been expected to absorb the damage. Emotions ran high as she made it clear her issue wasn't competition, it was respect. Fans are shocked by the calm intensity of the moment, calling it more powerful than any argument. Off camera, decisions were being made. Lawyers were consulted. Finances were reviewed. The reality of separation loomed heavier than any storyline. Kirk felt the walls closing in, realizing this wasn't just public embarrassment, it was real consequences. He tried one last time to talk to Rasheeda privately, asking for a chance to explain everything without cameras. She listened silently, then told him she had already heard enough. As the episode ended, nothing felt resolved. If anything, the damage felt deeper. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and the family was left divided not by one betrayal, but by years of unresolved pain finally brought into the light. The story didn't slow down. It kept moving forward, dragging everyone toward a decision that could no longer be postponed. The aftermath was heavier than the reveal itself. Days passed, but the tension clung to everyone like a shadow. Rasheeda moved through her routine with quiet precision, showing up to meetings, smiling when required, but those closest to her could see the shift. She wasn't reacting anymore, she was preparing. Emotions ran high behind closed doors as she started asking questions she had avoided for years, about finances, about trust, about what her future looked like without constantly cleaning up someone else's mess. Kirk felt that distance immediately. The house felt unfamiliar, like he was a guest walking through memories instead of a partner living in them. He tried small gestures, cooking meals, leaving notes, acting like effort could undo exposure. Rasheeda acknowledged none of it. Fans are shocked as word spread that she had quietly moved certain things around, not physically, but legally and emotionally. She wasn't announcing anything, but her silence spoke louder than any press release. Kendra retreated from the spotlight for a moment, but the storm followed her anyway. Blogs speculated about her mental state, her motives, her future on the show. Some insiders claimed she was being pressured to reveal more, to name dates, places, details that would only pour gasoline on the fire. She resisted at first, saying she had already said enough. Emotions ran high as she questioned whether telling the full truth meant destroying what little peace she had left. Friends began choosing sides more openly. Some stood firmly with Rasheeda, refusing to associate with Kirk publicly. Others tried to remain neutral, claiming they didn't want to get involved in a marriage that wasn't theirs. The family was left divided yet again when even small gatherings turned tense, conversations stopping the moment certain names were mentioned. Fans are shocked by how deeply the ripple effect spread, touching people who never expected to be part of the narrative. Pressure mounted when rumors surfaced that Rasheeda was considering a major life change. Nothing was confirmed, but speculation ran wild. Emotions ran high as supporters flooded her with messages encouraging strength and independence. Critics questioned whether she was acting too quickly. She ignored most of it, focusing instead on clarity. She said privately that peace felt unfamiliar, but she was starting to like it. Kirk finally broke down in front of a close friend, admitting fear had driven many of his decisions. He said he never thought things would go this far, that exposure changed everything. The friend didn't offer comfort, only honesty, telling him some losses couldn't be negotiated away. Fans are shocked when snippets of that conversation leaked, painting Kirk as a man realizing too late that control doesn't equal security. Kendra eventually returned to the camera, not with drama, but with reflection. She spoke about accountability, about how easy it is to believe words when you want them to be true. Emotions ran high as she admitted she wished she had demanded more clarity instead of trusting promises. Some viewers softened toward her, others doubled down on blame. The divide grew louder, proving that no version of the story would ever satisfy everyone. Rasheeda watched those clips without reaction. She said she wasn't interested in apologies through screens or explanations shaped for sympathy. She wanted consistency, something she realized she had been chasing for years. The family was left divided as she began setting boundaries that felt radical only because they were new. As weeks passed, it became clear this wasn't a temporary scandal. It was a turning point. Fans are shocked not by shouting or tears, but by the calm that followed. Emotions ran high beneath the surface as decisions loomed closer, unspoken but inevitable. Every step forward felt heavy, but standing still felt impossible. The story continued, no longer fueled by shock alone, but by the slow, irreversible weight of consequences finally settling in. After everything you've just heard, one thing is clear. This story is far from over, and the choices made next could change everything forever. You've seen the betrayal unfold, felt the silence speak louder than screams, and watched loyalty clash with self-respect in real time. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and the family was left divided, but now the biggest question is sitting with you. What would you do if you were in Rasheeda's place? Would you forgive again, or would this be the moment you finally choose yourself? This drama isn't just about one confession or one leaked message. It's about patterns, boundaries, and how many chances love is really supposed to get. Some people believe forgiveness is strength. Others believe walking away is survival. And right now, the internet is split straight down the middle. Every comment section is on fire, every reaction video has a different take, and everyone thinks they know how this should end. But do they? You've watched Kendra tell her truth and pay the price for it in public judgment. You've watched Kirk try to control a narrative that keeps slipping through his fingers. And you've watched Rasheeda evolve from reacting to preparing, from defending to deciding. Nothing here feels simple, and that's why this story has everyone hooked. Because it forces you to confront uncomfortable questions about trust, accountability, and how much damage is too much damage. Now it's your turn to speak. Don't just watch from the sidelines, be part of the conversation. Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell us exactly where you stand. Was Kendra wrong for going on air, or was she finally brave enough to stop protecting someone else's lies? Is Kirk capable of real change, or is this just another chapter in a long cycle? And most importantly, should Rasheeda forgive again, or is walking away the only real win left? If you felt the tension, if you caught yourself pausing to think, if this story made you question what you would accept in your own life, then you already know why these conversations matter. Stories like this don't just entertain, they reflect real emotions, real mistakes, and real consequences that so many people silently live through every day. Make sure you hit that like button if this breakdown had you glued from start to finish. It helps more than you think and lets us know you want more deep dives into the messiest, most emotional stories out there. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what happens next, because if you think the drama peaked here, think again. More revelations, more reactions, and more unexpected twists are still on the way. And don't forget to turn on notifications, because the moment new details drop, you'll want to hear about it first. This story is still unfolding, and every new piece adds another layer to a situation that's already explosive. You've heard the facts as they stand, the emotions behind them, and the fallout that followed. Now the question is simple but heavy. Where do you stand? Forgiveness or final goodbye? Loyalty or self-respect? Tell us below, because your voice is part of what keeps this conversation alive. And remember, sometimes the loudest moment isn't the betrayal, it's the decision that comes after it.